Hello, my fellow Chibits. As you can tell, I am in my chair once again, so you know I want to be covering some very detailed stuff in this chapter review of Tokyo Ghoul, and I'm just going to say right now, I love this chapter quite a bit, and there were quite a few different points of information I discovered after reading this chapter, so let's dive into this. Okay, so, as per usual, if you're new to my Tokyo Ghoul reviews, I'm going to be going from panel to panel, from page to page of Tokyo Ghoul Re, Chapter 40, breaking it down and doing an analysis of what is really going on in this chapter. So, I don't know how long this video is. It might be shorter than the last one. It might be longer than the last one. I have no idea until this recording is done. So, I'm just going to say right now, please forgive me if this video is long or short. I don't know. We'll just see. But there is a lot of content I do want to talk about. So, I'm on the first page, and the first panel, as you see pretty much going on, is where the Quinkix squad is just walking through an alleyway after, the events of the last chapter. Speaking of the last chapter, not many Chibits really realized that, last week Tokyo Ghoul was on break. Even though I said it at the end of the video, I don't think a lot probably saw that final segment of the video, because it's like the last word I said. So, yeah, I mean, many were shocked to see how Tokyo Ghoul was on break last week, and if you think about it, a lot of manga was on break last week. I mean, you have it to where, One Piece, Bleach, and different things like that. So yeah, okay, let's get back on point. Let's, talk about, this first page. So the first page pretty much just has to where, Sasaki and his group are just walking through the town or a back alley, and you see it to where they're being watched by people, and then all of a sudden, Kanye pops up in front of them, and Urei and Shirazu look at him, they're like, that's the dude from the auction. We saw him once before, we fought him, and he got away from the detached Kagane that was used in that chapter. I think it was, Chapter 24 or 25. It was one of those chapters where Urei and Shirazu and Sasaki fought Kanye at the auction raid. So if you want to check for yourself to refresh your memory, you can go check that. So, yeah, I mean, they look at it and they're like, okay, so instantly we need to go chase this guy. And all of a sudden, Urei and Shirazu go after the guy after, him escaping the last time. And that's pretty much all of the first page of what it's kind of about. It's pretty straightforward, nothing really too detailed. So we have the color page, skipping past that, so I'm going to the third page. So the third page kind of shows you a group on top of the rooftop, and you see a bunch of these guys just sitting on top of this rooftop looking down, and they're preparing to make their move. And if you remember the events of the last chapter, chapter 39, you had to where Kanye walked into this group, like he was talking to this group, and he was paying this group like, okay, I need you to deal with these certain people. Of course, he was talking about the Quinkix squad, because he was wanting to make time for Shu to be with Sasaki, if you remember. So, as I predicted at the end of my last chapter review, I said most likely, judging by the way this is going, is that Kanye is going to be hiring a group from Ogiri Tree, as we can tell from this chapter, that is probably going to try to kill the squad. And my predictions seem to be true after witnessing this chapter, but before I even dive into that, let's continue down. So, second page has it to where Urei, he's looking at Kanye as he's standing looking over outside, and you have to where Urei's like, okay, so time to test my power. This is just the perfect time to test my power, because as we know, Urei recently, he got, more stronger because of what he recently went through, his surgery. And so now he's going to be testing his strength and to see how strong he's become since the recent surgery. And as I've talked many times beforehand in my previous reviews, I've said that Urei eventually is going to turn into a ghoul. I mean, the way he continues to pursue for power, to get stronger, and I mean, he's wanting to surpass everything, it's obvious one day this is going to have a negative effect on him to where he's going to become a ghoul. It might already be too late, and most likely it is already too late, judging by the strength he shows in this chapter, but I'll save that for later as I go down the panels. So, the fight begins between Shirazu, Urei versus Kanye, and quite an unexpected fight, so to say. Which, you have it to where Kanye, he's going to be tackling both of these two at once, and if we know Kanye is kind of a strong ghoul, he's not really that much of a pushover, even though what we saw in this chapter kind of says otherwise, but we do know Kanye isn't really that weak. So, I mean, to see how it was, it's definitely going to make a very interesting battle the way this is going to progress, especially when you find out a couple of things that happen later on in these couple pages. So, as the fight commences and continues on, you see it to where the other group now, with Sasaki and Mutsuki and Saiko, as they're running behind, Sasaki, they run into this other group, and then Sasaki thinks like, okay, this must be a trap or something, because he sees it to where this group with white suits just pop up out of nowhere. As soon as you saw this, I instantly thought of like, okay, so it's very fucking obvious that these guys, white suits with masks, most likely from Ogiri Tree, since they are ghouls because of the mask. I'm like, okay, these guys have something to do with Naki or Yamori. They definitely do, because with this right here, it just makes so much fucking sense. Just their design alone makes sense, and then judging by how the entire theme of the arc has been wrapped around torture, that's one of the main crucial themes. Of course, some of these type of guys might appear very soon, and that's exactly what is going on. So Sasaki is going to have to be going up against these guys. He's going to have to be going up against these people that work directly underneath Naki, or Big Brother Naki, which is quite funny, which I'll get into in a moment. So yeah, I mean, they see these white suits. It seems like Sasaki kind of recognizes it a little bit, because he says white suits, and, you know, he doesn't really elaborate any further, but as we know, Sasaki has some form of remembrance of his past, and maybe he might, through the course of this battle, he might remember something, or maybe his other split personality, Kaneki, might pop out some way and probably talk something about these white suit figures. But anyways, moving past that, we get a really cool panel to where they're just like, okay, so we got this job to do, we're coming after you, and they're there just to distract Sasaki. That's really their entire goal right now. Like, these guys in the white suits are going to just be beating the shit out of Sasaki, beating the fuck out of him, and at the exact same time, they're going to try to lure it to where Mutsuki and Psycho split up from Sasaki for, you know, the others can pick them off, and Sasaki's just distracted fighting a battle by himself. So that's kind of what the main purpose of this chapter is, getting straight to the point. The main purpose, as we know, is to get Sasaki alone for he can have his time with Shu, but for now, you have it to where the group is just splitting Sasaki up away from everybody else for, you know, they can kill the others off and then leave Sasaki alive, or probably almost dead, leave him alive, and then, you know, Shu can have his time with him. That's what's kind of going on right here from what you can assume with the way they're splitting them up, which is really cool. One thing I really like about this is right underneath where, you know, Sasaki says, okay, Mutsuki, Psycho, I want you to run, he puts his hand out. You see it to where two different hands are cracking, you know, their fingers, and, you know, that's a Jason move, or, you know, the previous torturer that did that to Jason's move. And to see how that was done, it just goes to show you shit's about to go down with that going on. I wonder how Sasaki's gonna react to that, because, I mean, he also does the cracking of the finger, and I wonder how they will react when they see something like that when Sasaki does that against them. But from the first look of this fight, it seems like Sasaki's getting the shit knocked out of him. I mean, he hasn't used his Kagane yet, but he's getting the shit knocked out of him. Like, I mean, they're all ganging up on him. He's kind of laying on the floor almost, but, I mean, his briefcase has opened up, so there is a possibility Kaneki can get out, or not Kaneki, Sasaki, I need to respect his other personality, that Sasaki might get out his Quinke to be able to use against these guys, judging by how the briefcase was knocked open. Because if you look at the panel, you have to where, you know, Sasaki's fighting, he's dodging, his briefcase opens up, and that's kind of the last part we really see of that fight for the rest of the chapter. And then, if you look closely, you see it to where Sasaki is actually holding something on the bottom panel, so it seems like he might have gotten his Quinke already out, judging by the way it was done. So, the fight might not be that bad, but you have to go figure he is kind of surrounded by these guys, but we'll just have to see. He might be forced to actually use his Kagane if the situation gets bad enough. Now, let's move on to the next page. I'm on page 7, just to clarify, or page 8, or actually page 6. See, if you're not counting the color page, this would be page 6, but we're just going to say it's page 7. One thing I have to mention, which I have failed to mention quite a few times in recent chapter reviews, which I want to mention now, I like how Psycho says, my man, my man. Like, I posted that on Twitter like a week ago, or less than a week ago. I posted a picture of Psycho in the Himoto outfit, you know, the little hamster Himoto outfit. I posted this picture. I didn't do it, but I mean, it was another person that drew it. I just posted and showcased it, and you had it to where, like, she's like, my man, my man, my man, and every time she says that, it's like she's talking about Sasaki, and it's so cute the way she says that, and, like, I'm, like, thinking, Psycho, you can't be any more fucking adorable, you're just so cute, she's just so damn cute. Best girl, she is seriously best girl. I'm kind of upset with that cliffhanger, but that'll be saved on to the later part of this review. So, back on topic, back to page 7 of, you know, this review or analysis of Tokyo Ghoul Chapter 40. You have it to where Mutsuki's like, okay, don't worry, Psycho. Sasuke will be fine by himself. He can handle himself. I mean, he has his Kagane. I mean, he has his Klinkei. He's very strong. There's no way in fuck he's probably going to lose. He might get the shit knocked out a little bit, but there's no way he might lose. What's really funny, however, is on page 7, I'm just laughing. I'm looking at this shit real quick. What's fucking funny is, like, just out of nowhere, you just see Torso stick his head out around the corner. Dude, he just looks like a fucking cartoon. He looks like a fucking cartoon, dude. Like, Torso sticks his head around the corner. He's like, so you came. Torso is mad creeper, man. He's a fucking stalker creeper shit, man. That is creepy, dude. He just peeks around. Like, dude, if someone was to pick around the corner like this at you, how would you react? That's creepy. That's fucking creepy. And then like, oh, you came. And it's like, it's been a while. Oh, you've changed your hairstyle. It's cute. It really fits you. Don't you want to go on a drive with me? It's fun. Stranger danger. Stranger danger. Stranger danger. Stranger danger. Fucking run, dude. And like, anyone walked up to you and said something like that, like, stranger danger. Fucking run, man. So Torso, I can't help but actually laugh the way his situation is in this chapter. Just the way he's acting, you can tell that Mutsuki is kind of discomforted by what Torso is doing, but it's funny seeing Torso the way he's acting. He looked like a straight up cartoon, just sticking his head around the fucking corner, and it's like, oh, it's been a while, and all this, you know, like he really knows Mutsuki so well. Just, I can't help but chuckle a little bit. I think a lot of us probably chuckle about that. I mean, I guess this situation is kind of bad because Torso is not the strongest ghoul, but he is kind of strong. And if you think about it, Mutsuki's not the most experienced when it comes to fighting. So we'll see. We'll just see. But we do know what happens after this. As you know, a couple more ghouls appear to actually fight, you know, Mutsuki, if you think about it. Because right after, you know, Torso strikes at Mutsuki, you have it to where Mutsuki's like, okay, Psycho, you need to run, go hide somewhere, because as we know, Psycho is not really, well, we know, we've seen it because it was cut out, but we didn't get to fully see it, but we do know Psycho is strong, because in the Nutcracker fight, there was a time to where Psycho was going to use her Kagane, but all of a sudden, that entire fight was kind of skipped, and Nutcracker was on the ground. So we do know Psycho is strong with her Kagane, but it's been completely cut in that fight previously, so we know she can fight, but Psycho is not one to really go out of her way to fight, so to say, unless some crazy shit happens. And so to see that, pretty much Mutsuki's like, okay, Psycho, you need to go run, you need to go hide, this guy's very dangerous, he's a pervert, so forth, so on, and that's where that situation leads, which puts Mutsuki in a bad spot, because as we know right after this page, but before I actually get to that, I want to take a moment to talk about Torso's eyes. Like, he's straight up insane, dude. Look at his eyes. Like, one of his pupils are going downward and one of them going up, dude. That dude is fucking crazy. Like, okay. So, Torso confirmed crazy. I mean, after seeing his eyes like that, that's just crazy, dude. He's crazy. Enough said. So, I don't think I need to now make any more discussion on that. Just Torso, the way he bends his body and shit, he's crazy. So, back on to the topic of Mutsuki in a bad spot. So as they continue to fight and all that, and how, you know, Torso and Mutsuki continue to slash each other, stab each other, so forth, you have it to where another ghoul interrupts, which is probably one of the main points I want to talk about when it comes to this chapter of Tokyo Ghoul Re, because this is something that really struck me when I was reading this chapter. I'm like, okay, so this is very different from the norm when it comes to Ogiri Tree, which I will reveal this in a second once I get to the page. So, as you find out, like, this other ghoul pops up and starts fighting Mutsuki and just kicking the shit out of Mutsuki. Mutsuki's barely being able to hold her own, because you see it to where Mutsuki's, like, sweating. Like, she's sweating, you see where the sweat's all over her face, and this other person doesn't even look like they're sweating or even exhausted at all, which goes to show you how strong or how mentally trained this person is, which is kind of obvious once you find out who this person is. So let's take a few moments to point out this person, which we come to find out a couple pages down the road is the direct subordinate right underneath Totara. And if you know who Totara is, Yeah, you know who he is, a part of Ogiri Tree. So to see how this person is a direct subordinate underneath Tatra raises many questions after looking at this reveal. You come to see how this person is holding a Quinque. That in of itself is very, very different from the norm. That stands out so much, because let's explain. I don't think we have ever seen, besides the Quinque X, children, the squad underneath Sasuke, I don't think we've ever seen a ghoul use a Quinque. Think about that for a second. Have we ever seen a ghoul, or at the very least a ghoul from Ogiri Tree, use their weapons, like the dove's weapons? I don't think so. So this raises many questions, because when the hand is shown, you see black fingernails. The black fingernails symbolize torture, because as you remember what happened to Kaneki when he was tortured in Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul, his fingernails went black because of the constant torture and different things like that. To see his or her fingernails solid black, it represents that this person has been through torture. Now, who is the one that tortured this person raises many questions, because this person directly works underneath Tatra. The only people we've ever seen torture someone is someone close to Jason, Naki Squad or something, and, certain CCG people in part of CCG. I mean, I could see Tatra torturing someone. I mean, look what he probably did to Sato, along with, what Eto did to Sato. So, I mean, if you think about that, it makes a lot of sense. But still, since this person works directly underneath Tatra, why the black fingernails? What type of shit has this person went through to have these black fingernails? Many questions raised. And it's not just that. The Quinque raises many questions too, because usually a ghoul uses their Kagane, but why go out of your way to use a Quinque? Like, why? Of all things, when a ghoul excels at their Kagane, why use a Quinque? Of all things. Unless there's other reasons behind this, which I'm about to discuss. So, the main thing I want to talk about here is that in the last arc, and this is probably where a majority of this review is going to actually focus on, so get ready for this, prepare your anus. So, in the last arc, the auction raid arc, the main point of that arc, with all the security and with Pineapple even going there, was to, I guess, test out the abilities of Sato and to see how strong he is with Owl's Kagane or Kakuho inside of him. And to see that, it was kind of like Eto just doing a test run. It was just a test drive. It was like getting a new car and doing a test drive. And as we know, at the exact same time as the auction raid, there was another battle taking place. You had to where the other battle was taking place to where Ogiri Tree was trying to steal Quinque Steel. They were trying to go after the Quinque Steel and steal that. And Artemis Squad was there to stop them from doing that. They stopped them. They stopped Ogiri Tree from accomplishing that goal. But what really raises many questions is why wasn't there more people at the Quinque Steel area? Now you're probably wondering, okay, so where the fuck am I going with this? Like, why am I talking about this? What does this mean? And why should you care? Well, for one, there's many reasons. Because if you didn't know, Quinque Steel is made, like, they make Quinques with Quinque Steel. Like, that's how they make their weapons, how the doves make their weapons. And also, Quinque Steel is also inside of the Quinque X children. Like, you know how they have their Kakuho inside of them? The Quinque Steel is also inside of them in a box, remember? So, to see that, you can already see the importance of this still. But then that raises questions, so what else are you trying to get at, Chibi? So, there was two different attacks going on. The attack on the auction and the attack on the Quinque Steel. But if you think about it in terms of manpower, there was so many more people at the auction than at the Quinque Steel area. Why? You want to know why this is curious? Because Artima was sent to the Quinque Steel area. As we know, Artima is the god of death. Every ghoul fucking fears his ass. When you see God pop up, fear for your life, because he's going to kick your ass. That's straight up. So, why would they focus more attention on an auction? Yes, they were test driving Pineapple because of, the new Kagane inside of him, but why go there instead of trying to get the obvious, more valuable resource, the Quinque Steel? Now you're thinking, okay, so that does raise many questions, Chibi, but what else are you going with this? Let's explain. In the chapter, this chapter, chapter 40, we see it to where this he or she that works directly underneath Tatara is using a Quinque. Now you probably can already pinpoint the dots of where I'm going with this. As we've seen in the past, when Sato was killed, for instance, his human side was killed and he was taken prisoner by Ogiri Tree and then turned into Pineapple, he had this weapon that Tatara did not like, because it was one of Tatara's comrades in the past that was turned into a weapon, a Quinque. He looked at the weapon, he looked at Sato with disgust, and then Sato got killed, his human self got killed. And if you think about it, of all people to hold a weapon that would kind of upset Tatara, why does his directly underneath Tatara have a Quinque? I personally believe that this Quinque that this he or she holds is probably a fallen comrade of Tatara, or this he or she person that's holding this Quinque. That is my thoughts right there. Maybe a Dove investigator, CCG investigator in the past had this weapon, Tatara saw it, or maybe he or she saw it, and then they killed this Dove for that weapon. And that's why this person uses the weapon to kind of honor the fallen comrade, or it can mean something else entirely, which this is getting into the main point besides that. So, as I already briefly said earlier on, a couple of minutes ago, they went to the Quinque Steel factory to get that, and the Quinque Steel is used to make Quinque. And if you think about it, with this girl having a Quinque, what if they were trying to make Dove weapons? What if Ogiri Tree was trying to make Dove weapons? Now you're probably thinking, okay, so why the fuck would they want to make Dove weapons? Because that would mean they would have to use the Kakuho of ghouls, but why do that? Here's the thing. As we know, which has already been apparent throughout the course of Part 1 of Tokyo Ghoul and Part 2, some ghouls can be harvested to make multiple Quinques. For instance, Toka and Ayato's father. How their father is harvested for weapons. For instance, they harvest his Kakuho, and they continuously make weapons out of him. And that's kind of what's going on with Eto's father. Think about it. Eto's father is being mass-produced. They're mass-producing and harvesting his Kakuho, which in turn made Pineapple, because the owl cognate is inside of him. And as we know, the way the form looked, it was definitely Eto's father. And if you think about it, with the work of the Quinque still on top of this, they might be using Eto's father to mass-produce owl-level Quinque. Think about it. If they had owl-level Quinque to use alongside of mass-producing half-ghouls that are on the level of owl, think about how strong their army would be. So this is kind of the goal of what Ogiri Tree are doing right now. But then this raises many questions. This doesn't answer if they attack two different points in the auction raid. They attacked the auction, and then they were also there at the Quinque Still, and Arima was there. One of the main people, one of the strongest, was there first. Why didn't they focus more of their forces over there? Unless they already have a way to mass produce Quinque Still. But the only reason they went there in the first place is because they needed it now. They needed it fast because they were planning something. They wanted to do something. There was something coming up very soon they needed to do, and that's why they really needed it, and that's why they risked going there. Or it was a distraction. Think about it. Arima was at the Quinque Still area. Obviously, from an objective point of view, if you were to look at the situation of both key points of the auction and then also at the Quinque Still area, obviously the Quinque Still area is more valuable. But then they didn't put their full forces there, but they put a lot of forces on the auction raid, but not all of them. There were some that were not even there. Some really good, well-known ghouls were not even there either. What if the entire ordeal with the auction and also with the Quinque Still situation was a diversion for something else entirely? What if it was for something to help the doctor that makes half ghouls? And also to point out something else too that makes more sense with this too, with the Quinque Still also, is that, as we know, since the Quinquex children are made through Quinque Still, because, you know, the Kakuho is encased with it and kind of holds them back from becoming full ghouls, or half ghouls, as we remember from the past, there was a page, I have it marked right here. There was a page in the past when Kaneki was actually talking to the doctor. It was in the arc when they raided the doctor's lab, Kano's lab. Well, you had it to where he was saying, like, my entire life, I'm trying to figure out an experiment with how to raise the efficiency of making half ghouls. For instance, he says, like, his rate of success was 0% to make half ghouls, and he says half ghouls are the future. So, obviously, he would do any way out of his way, like, he would do anything to increase that success rate with his experiments to be able to make more half ghouls. And as we know, majority of Part 2 has been to where Eto has been trying to mass-produce more Kanekis, as they said at the end of Part 1. And they're using Eto's father to do this. Sato was a good experiment because he is a owl experiment half-ghoul. And we also kind of already know that Almond is half-ghoul as well. So if you think about this, maybe the reason why they want the Quinky still is not just because of the Quinky, but maybe they want to make more efficient and successful rates of making half-ghouls. Like, what if they wanted the Quinky still to make the Kakuho encased, and then they were going to slowly raise up the levels, you know, break through the floors, to be able to make them half-ghouls? Because we do know the success rate of making half-ghouls through that way is a little bit higher than the other way that the Doctor used to do. So think about it. That is a very good possibility why they want that in the first place, and why that girl is holding that type of weapon, or a girl or a guy is holding that type of weapon in this chapter. Now, to go even further, we have seen cases to where the owl's weapon, like, you know, experimental weapon made in the past, kind of looks similar to that type of blade. And if you think about it, the blade is a katana, very short, and it kind of resembles owl in a certain way. Think about it. So, yeah, the facts are in, the facts are there. Ogiri Tree is mass-producing Quinky still to make more half-ghouls and make Quinky. Ow, Quinky. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's move on. See, I told you, that was going to contain a lot of the fucking beef with this chapter. Okay, so to the next part of this review. Sorry about the first part, that was long-winded, I know, but there was a lot of information I needed to cover about that, because that was the truth behind the auction raid. It was a diversion and prepping for what is to come. Now, I'm on page 11 now. I'm on page 11 or page 10 if you count, you know, the color page. And right now I'm looking at to where the members are going to be attacking the Quinkex squad to give time for Shu to meet Sasaki. They're talking on the roof, and we get introduced to each individual one and come to find out their connection to Ogiri Tree alongside of finding out their names. So I want to quickly go over these characters and give my impressions of their design. So each individual one of these are pretty much underneath Yamori, or Naki, or used to be underneath Jason. So they're a part of his clan. And the dude that I showed on Twitter a while back, I think it was about a week ago almost since this day, I talked about a dude that had a butt chin. And this dude, instant badass. Like, his face is just so fucking badass. He has a butt chin, he has a scar on his eye, he looks like a Jason 3.0, and I mean, he just looks like this dude would fucking wreck you. Like, I mean, if this dude looked at you funny, like, you know this dude's going to just rip you in half. That's kind of the look this guy gives you. So, Shosei, I'm definitely watching out for this guy. He probably is going to be a beast in the future. I can't wait to see more of him in future chapters of Tokyo Ghoul Re. So that's his introduction, my thoughts of him. His design is just pretty kick-ass. Underneath that, you also have this other dude that's also from, you know, Jason's clan or Naki's clan, Yamori clan. He's called Hoguro. Hoguro, I don't really have much impressions. It seems like he likes money, judging by the way he was acting. He's greedy to a certain extent. He's willing to kind of use the people that are going to pay him to try to get more money, like extort them, to get more money out of them if they're not really that smart. And that's kind of how his personality is, which kind of suits since he is in a business suit, what suit. Of course, he would like, you know, good, prized, high riches and stuff like that. So yeah, one thing else too, you also get introduction to the person that's working underneath Tatora, and this is the person's name, which I failed to mention in the previous part of the review, because I couldn't remember, but I was waiting until I got to this part. The person's name is Hakatori. I don't know if that is a female or dude. As I said in my previous part, I was saying he/she, because I don't even know if this is a dude or a girl, so I'm just going to say he or she until it's officially confirmed. But for now, this person reminds me a lot of D. Gray Man's, you know, Kanda. If you remember him from D. Gray Man, This person looks exactly like him almost. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? It really does. But yeah, so we get the name Hakatori, expecting a lot from that character because of the Quinque to direct subordinate and different things like that. And then right beside Hakatori, you see Torso called the Driver. Like, he's just fucking called Driver Torso. And his head is so small, man. His head is so fucking small. This panel, his head is tiny compared to the others. Like, you have to where Shosei's looking at us, you have to where Hokuto's looking at money, and then Hakatori just looking off in the corner, and when you see little Torso, his head just sticking out, barely sticking out. It's hilarious. He's straight up a joke. I laugh at his ass. Like, he looks like a cartoon in this chapter, and the way he looks there, just, I can't help but laugh at the poor guy. So, yeah, getting back into, you go underneath, and it seems like Hokuto is trying to use Kanye to get more money out of him. Like, oh, this guy must be very rich. He's giving us this much money for these people? Like, what the fuck is wrong with him? And eventually goes and says, oh, you need to give us more money out of this and all that. And eventually come to find out that Kanye's like, yeah, I'm willing to pay double and all that. I'll give you an advance payment for each person you kill. It just goes to show you that this is serious. Kanye is very serious. Like, he doesn't give a shit. And I have to wonder how Shu is going to think about this situation, because the past Shu would have probably been fine with this. Like, you know, been fine with Kanye going out of his way to killing Sasuke's friends. I know the past Shu would have been fine with that. But the now present Shu, as I've already covered before, he has changed quite a bit. He seems to be a lot more open to others around Sasuke or Kaneki. And I don't think he would be fine with actually finding out that Sasuke's friends are being killed for him to be with them. So I wonder how he's going to react in the future when he finds out what Kanye has done, but that is left to be decided. For now, though, I think that's self-explanatory what is going on with that little group, you know, finding out their individual personalities. And then the fight continues with Kanye and Urei and Shirazu. Shirazu seems to be doing okay, but eventually he kind of loses his upper hand compared to what Urei is doing against Kanye. Now, one thing I want to point out about this is what happens to Shirazu. And this goes into the next segment of this review. So, Shirazu is forced to use his Quinque, because his Kagane is not really helping him in this fight. And as we know, his Quinque is from Nuts, the Nutcracker, from the auction raid. And we already know, since we already had the tarot card added on top of him, because, you know, the reverse hangman, and, you know, how it was given to him with his father not liking him, and then also him hallucinating, have these illusions and bad nightmares of Nutcracker. It just goes to show you the mental state he's in, and how he can't really move past what has happened in the past, and also how he's really not fit to be a ghoul investigator if he lets stuff like this really hurt him to that extent, after some ghoul shows human emotions. Like, he couldn't believe a ghoul can show human emotions. But there is a panel that you can see to where Nuts appears in the mind of Shirazu, and Nuts is just, her face is crazy. Like, you see blood coming out of it all over, and then you see these weird eyes all over her face. It looks very fucking disturbing and creepy. But if you look behind Nutcracker, you will see flowers. And I don't think I even need to explain why I'm mentioning flowers, because if you know Ishida, if you've watched my reviews, you know how the symbolism is with flowers. So I don't think I really need to dive into why I'm talking about flowers. So get ready, prepare your anus for this. So in this panel, where Shirazu's kind of hallucinating, he sees, you know, Nuts strangling him, and he also sees the flowers behind Nutcracker. So I did my own personal research to actually discover what the fuck these flowers were, because, like, okay, so flowers, obviously, they mean something about the chapter. So I did a lot of research. I kind of found out many different things about what they mean. So the flower is called, actually, I want to quickly say, if I mispronounce this flower, please fucking forgive me. But I think it's called hibiscus. Hibiscus? Just, it's Hibiscus. Okay? That's how you spell it. And so, please forgive me if I mispronounce that, but it's that type of flower. And come to find out about the flower, like the symbolism part, the red version of this flower, it was used as a depiction of the Hindu goddess Kali. And also, it was also used as kind of an offering to this goddess. And this goddess, if you want to find out the meaning of Kali, let me explain. Kali is, let's see, she is the goddess of time, change, power, and destruction. She also, the name directly of Kali means black, time, death, lord of death. And that is the meaning behind the red hibiscus flower. That's the meaning behind that flower's name if it's red. And there's all sorts of different variety of colors, because if you look behind Shirazu with, nuts and all that, you see many different types of these flowers, the different colored versions. So obviously we can assume there is a red version, different type of colors, because this flower does have different colors like white and purple. It has red. So there's different meanings, but we do know the red is a part of that, and Kali being attached onto this is not a good sign, because Lord of Death, that's just, I don't think I need to even go any further with that. But there's a couple other meanings behind this flower that I do want to mention that actually makes a lot of sense with this panel, and it might be where Ashita was kind of going with it besides the death aspect. It might be another way Ashita was taking the meaning behind this flower. So this flower is supposedly used to help out hypertension, and you're probably wondering, okay, so what the fuck is hypertension? That's what the flower's used, like it was used to kind of help against that. Hypertension is also known as high blood pressure. So that is another way you can look at this flower, and it actually really goes along with this panel a lot better, even the Kali, goddess of death and stuff like that. The reason why I'm saying this is because the flower was used to help hypertension, which in turn is high blood pressure, and if you look at this, it kind of makes sense, because the depiction of this shows it to where Nutcracker is strangling Shirazu. And what other way can you think about this when it comes to strangling? Shortness of breath, can't breathe, and high blood pressure can usually cause it to where you're hyperventilating. If you're breathing heavy or very shocked and your high blood pressure, your heart's beating real fast, it could cause hyperventilating. Like, you can hyperventilate, which causes it to where you can't breathe. And so the strangulation of what Nutcracker is doing to Shirazu represents that he's having a panic attack. He's just having a panic attack. He might even be having a heart attack or even something less than that, but he might have a heart attack, or he could be closer to having a heart attack in the near future, along with him having a shortness of breath because of the situation. Just shows you how, I guess, distraught he is still after the situation of Nutcracker. So thinking about it like that, it seems like Ashita was kind of going towards the direction of he's having a panic attack, which is kind of obvious if you think about it, but the flowers go to showcase that a lot better. And I mean, food for thought. I mean, you can enjoy the panels and the chapters so much better when you come to find out more of the extra work that Ashita puts in to the writing of Tokyo Ghoul. So once again, it's nothing really necessarily important, so to say, unless the Kali, goddess Kali, comes into effect in the future. But for now, from what we can assume, it's just there for aesthetics and also to appreciate the panel work a lot more when it comes to Chapter 40 of Tokyo Ghoul. So moving past that, you have it to where Urei, he kind of is like, oh my god, you're the fucking leader of this squad, you're doing a shit job, you're having a panic attack, can't even open up your Quinque, fuck you, I'm just going to continue fighting by myself. And you just see Urei just cut that Kagane like it's nothing from... Just, let's put it this way, okay? Urei, after witnessing what I witnessed, okay, like, he's cutting this Kagane of Kanye up like it's nothing. He's just cutting it in fucking pieces, dude. Witnessing this and looking at the way this looks, I cannot help but say badass. Like, Kanye says this in his mind. What the fuck? That is what Kanye says in his fucking mind, dude. Like, I was just, when I saw this, I'm like, I would say the exact same thing. Like, this dude just cutting my Kagane up like it's freaking sushi. Like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, this is the dude I fought before, and he didn't do this type of shit, and then now, Urei just, it's crazy. I mean, it's not just that. I mean, also, as Urei continues to fight, you see how his speed is increased. It gets showcased because of the artwork and the panel work that Ashita tries to do. Urei's gotten a lot faster, and Kanye's on the ropes. He's like, holy crap, oh crap, oh crap, I can't defend this shit. And it just goes to show you this is kind of unbalanced now because he's gotten a lot stronger since his training, which kind of threw off Kanye off guard. So you can't really say Kanye's weak, because if you were to fight an opponent, and then all of a sudden this opponent was a lot stronger than you predicted and kind of threw you off guard, of course you would kind of get your ass wrecked a little bit. I mean, let's face it. So, from what you can see here, the reason why Kanye's kind of getting wrecked at the moment is because he became arrogant. He thought that Urei wouldn't be that strong. So he was arrogant, and he was overconfident, and that's kind of why he's getting his ass wrecked right now. So, not necessarily saying that Urei should not be that strong, I'm just saying that's also another thing you have to play into when Kanye is getting wrecked in this chapter. Now, as it continues, you have it to where freaking Kanye tries to block, his arms get slashed, Urai's just putting in that clockwork like it's nothing, and then grabs Kanye by the fucking chest, dude, and slams him up against this oh my god. I think all of you by now know how I feel about Urai. I think majority of you know. And then seeing Urai grab him by the throat and slamming him and all that and choking him, I think you know how I feel about Urai in previous chapters. Like, he's a stuck-up prick. I'm not a big fan of him. Yes, he has his moments, and he did get deep-throated by a dude, Big Bubba. So, I mean, he has his shortcomings, and he wants promotion, promotion, promotion. But I cannot deny I will give Urai credit for this chapter. That is incredibly badass. Just grabbing Kanye by the throat, slamming him up against concrete, seeing the concrete shatter, and just choking the life out of him. And then he goes even further and says this, "I'll break your neck." Bruh. Urai, chill. Chill, man. Just chill. Holy fuck. Chill. Chill. Too badass, man. Like, dude, it's hard for me to hate you when I see something like that. That's really epic. It's so fucking epic. So, yeah. Urai fans, yes, I'm admitting, Urai, really good in this chapter. Really great in this chapter. Even though he's a prick, he's still a prick. I'll give him this chapter. He was amazing. Okay. That's coming from me. That's not a Urai fan. Okay, so let's move past this. I can finally move past what is going on. Now, one of these panels that's going on kind of gives, like, a status update on what is going on with Shirazu, Sasaki, and Mutsuki and what they're currently engaged in. Like, you know, who they're fighting and what's really going on. And so that panel is kind of a little bit useless, so to say. It's kind of there just to show you what's going on and what's really happening to the other people that are fighting. For instance, what's going on with Psycho, which leads into the next part, which I'm very sad about. So, Psycho, as we know, she was told to run and hide, thanks to Mutsuki. So she goes off and runs to hide, and she's on standby. This ain't a Katsura standby. I'm just gonna say, this ain't Katsura. You know, Katsura is always on standby. Psycho is on standby. And she doesn't want to be useless. She doesn't want to be dead weight. But she says, like, I guess I should just stay here and listen to orders. So she decides to stay back behind and hide in this, like, alleyway. Or where this room is with a bunch of different equipment. I can't really describe it. She's just in a room or alleyway by herself. In the discussion right there. And the final page. The final page. Yo! What the fuck, man? You! Don't do that shit to me, Ashita. The final page shows it to where Psycho was. I'm sad, dude. I'm sad. I love Psycho. Yo, she's the best girl, man. She's the best girl, Tokuguri. I'm sorry, she is best girl. She's so fucking amazing. And then you give me this. No, Ashita, no. This is the time when I don't want my fucking theories with the fairy tower becoming real. You remember how I said a couple chapters back when I talked about Psycho and, you know, the fairy tower, how she'll disappear and shit? Oh, it's coming true, dude. It's coming fucking true, dude. It's coming true. And I don't want this, dude. I want to cry right now. Because, you know what this final page means? You want to know? It's implied that Psycho isn't necessarily going to die. Like, she can die, but it's not just that that's implied. See, thinking about my fairy tower theory I did a couple episodes or chapters ago. I don't know why I said episodes. I guess you could consider these reviews episodes, but what I said in a couple of reviews ago, I said that Psycho might disappear, or death might happen. And now looking at this, and looking at the situation, and looking at this arc, and thinking about how Tokyo Ghoul Re is kind of a reverse Tokyo Ghoul Part 1, for instance, a retelling of some of the events, and some of the opposite things are happening, and then judging by what Ashita did recently on his Twitter account, which I want to reveal right now, Ashita recently changed his profile picture. When Ashita changes his profile picture, you know that is a sign of something big is about to happen. On the profile picture of Ashita Sensei's Twitter, you see a battlesuit. And you don't know who necessarily is wearing this battlesuit. It's Kaneki's battlesuit, but you don't know if it's Heise or Kaneki wearing the battle suit. So, from what you can get is, we're about to get into a type of arc that is similar to what happened in the past of Part 1. And judging by the Clinky Steel I brought up, to, you know, how the Doctor might appear, different things like that, and then also Psycho with the fairy tower thing of how she might disappear, there is a very good possibility this dude is not just going to beat the shit out of Psycho next chapter, but also Psycho might be captured, and disappearing might mean that she's going to be captured, taken to Ogiri Tree, and then tortured, like what happened to Kaneki. Because there's been a lot of parallels that's happened in previous chapters of Part 2 to where there's a lot of similarities of what has happened, like, you know, with Kaneki, that's probably going on with, you know, Psycho. And also Mutsuki's in the exact same format, because, I mean, with the white hair we saw her past couple chapters ago and what Torso wants to do to her. So, I mean, thinking about this like that, Psycho's disappearance with the fairy tower foreshadowing might be because Ogiri Tree is about to capture her. They're going to capture her, they're going to torment her, get information out, and probably experiment on her to probably figure out how Quinex's children are made. You know, how these artificial ghouls are made. That's also a very good possibility. You might want to figure out how the Quinky Steel is made around the Kakuho to make them. So Psycho most likely is going to be experimented on in that way. And it's not just that. Anybody with that type of mask, you know, is fucked up. Like, if you don't realize what type of mask this dude's wearing, let me elaborate. This guy, judging by his mask, he's wearing skin. He is wearing human or ghoul. He's wearing skin. He's wearing fucking skin on his face. If this dude is a really sick bastard, he might be wearing his own skin. Who fucking knows? But this dude is wearing skin on his face. Yeah, he's wearing skin. And as soon as I saw this, I'm like, Leatherface. Leatherface. That's what he is. He's Leatherface. If you know who Leatherface is, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface. Maybe even a Hannibal Lecter. Mix of Hannibal Lecter. There you go. But this guy with a mask like that, looking at my little Psycho, and then judging by the disappearance of Psycho, and also how she might be used for experiments to figure out how to make more of Psycho, not a good sign. But there is hope. There is good hope for Psycho. Because as we found out, and I've already covered actually slightly in this video, in the past, there was a fight that was skipped between Psycho and Nutcracker. We do know Psycho has some form of Kagune that is very strong, and it is implied and mentioned, or not really mentioned, it's implied, that the Kakuho, or the Kagune inside of Psycho, might be centipede, or some form of centipede, for instance, Kaneki. It is implied. So, we do know Psycho will crack her fingers, probably. And to see that, she might be some form of similarity to Kaneki's Kagune. It's a good possibility. So if you think about it, she's not really, so to say, fucked at the moment, but judging by the way the foreshadowing and the setup is done, and judging by the true purpose of the auction raid, Psycho's going to be captured. And then also going along with the battle suit appearing on the Twitter of Ishida, yeah, Heize or Kaneki are going to be trying to save someone. So, if you think about it like that, someone's about to be captured, and someone's about to try to go get saved. Psycho. End of discussion. So, do I think Psycho's going to die? I'll tell you right now. She'll probably get used as information. As I already briefly said, she'll probably be used as experiments to figure out how those type of artificial ghouls are made. So I don't think she'll die necessarily at first, but if she does die, she won't die next chapter. I don't think Psycho would die next chapter. She'll probably die if she does die, which I don't want to happen. The mad salt I would feel. Like, the salt I would have if I saw that. Oh, fuck. Don't do that shit to me, man. I'd be fucking pissed, dude. Oh, fuck. I'd have some salt. So, for now, I will say this. If Psycho dies, I want to be upset. But I don't think she'll die next chapter. I don't. I think she'll survive. She'll put up a fight. We'll finally get to see her Kagune. And then something's going to happen. That's my thoughts. Okay, so before I end this review, or analysis, of Tokyo Ghoul Re Chapter 40, I want to ask you, Chibits, what's your thoughts on this? Like, what's your thoughts on this chapter? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's very fun seeing what you all think about Tokyo Ghoul as well. I love discussing it in the comments with you, seeing what you guys think about these chapters, and it's very fun to see how all of you enjoy these reviews. It makes me happy to know how a lot of you really like these long reviews I do. And anyone that's still watching, if there is any of you still watching, I thank you for watching these reviews, because it means a lot. It really does. I mean, I put a lot of work into these. It's very fun to review Tokyo Ghoul and dive into it. It's one of my favorite things to really dive into weekly. It's just so fun to research and look up so much different meaning and stuff. I mean, there's not many times in series I can do something like this. I think the last time I was able to dive into a series like this deep, was probably Hunter x Hunter, which sadly at the time I didn't really realize until it was already said and gone with how deep Hunter x Hunter was. But I'm glad I'm able to dive into Tokyo Ghoul each week and do something like this for all of you, and I'm glad so many of you do appreciate these type of reviews. So thank you. I just want to take a few moments to thank you on that. You all have a wonderful day or night, wherever you live, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.